very simple. They don't have any other desire but to get inside and let's see. We heard about Vaikuntha, we heard about Narayana, we want to see. So these doormen stopped that very simple desire they have without any other, material contamination. And so they said, how dare you stop us? We are just going inside. We don't have anything else in this world. We don't look for anything else but this. We don't know how to behave with people like us. You are unfit to be here. Because so the Lord has appeared here and he is very beautifully speaking. I'm using the word beautifully speaking. It may not be appropriate to say beautiful for words, but because it's the Lord, you see, he speaks very sweetly, it is mentioned. In the 10th canto, it is mentioned that his vacha, his words are so sweet that the gopis melt. They get convinced by everything he says. And he's mentioned that he's very expert at speaking and satisfying the gopis and his devotees. So you can get a glimpse of how beautifully he would speak. So as soon as he came to hear that there are 4 Kumaras here, they are very exalted persons and they've cursed your doormen in Vaikuntha. The Dwarapalakas have been cursed. So the Lord comes out of his palace right up to the gate to see. And what he speaks is so nice and also sometimes very bewildering for people to understand. He comes and glorifies them, Brahmanas. Then he says that whatever you have done is correct only. I'm very sorry about my servants having done this to you and committed this offense to you. And then he explains how dear Brahmanas are to him. And he's saying that these things are very nicely done by you, all duties of a Brahmana and everything. So I am very inclined to the Brahmanas and the cows. And therefore what they have done, they deserve. He goes ahead further to say that on behalf of them, I take upon my head the responsibility for what they have done. They have been offensive to you. I take the responsibility for that. He even uses strong words in saying that I am willing to chop off my hand, which means one of my assistants does something like this, I'm willing to even get rid of him if it need be. So hearing the way he speaks as a representative of all in Vaikuntha, to guests who have come to Vaikuntha, gives us a lot of lessons. And here Prabhupada is speaking in the purport, 2 purports we read. One is the Lord himself saying, I myself will take the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, and keep it on my head. And if I do that, why will everybody else not do it? Right? So we saw practically that Krishna washed the feet of Sudama in Rukmini's palace, appeared it, drank it and sprinkled it on his head. This is what is mentioned. So he's setting an example, as Krishna is saying here. So, Bhaktapada Jala Ara, Bhaktapada Dhuli Jala, Bhaktapada Jala, Bhakta Bhukta Avasesha, Tineda Mahadana. 3 aspects of a Vaishnava are great treasure. Is dust of his lotus feet, water washing his feet, and the remnants of food, prasadam, left by a Vaishnava. All these things, Tineda Mahadana, they are great treasure for those who are interested in progressing in devotion. And the Lord himself is demonstrating it here. He's saying that what to speak of anybody else doing it, I myself like to take the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees and place it on my head. I have so much appreciation for them. So here we can understand how high esteem should devotees be held in. It's not ordinary. They are not ordinary people. So they have to be held in high esteem, right? So Krishna is demonstrating that to the four Kumaras in front of all the Vaikuntavasis and the doormen. And Prabhupada is going further to say Krishna is speaking the glories of the Brahmanas. There are Brahmanas, there are cows, there are children, there are old people, all of them, they deserve protection. He lists here women, children, old men, cows, and Brahmanas. All of them need to be protected. In fact, a government, a functioning Kshatriya, should make sure that this is in place. Protection at priority should be given to women, children, old men, cows, Brahmanas. And out of these things, priority is given to Brahmanas and cows. That's why in a large gathering, the Brahmanas are made to sit down first and given prasadam. Then children and women and old men and everything. That's how separate sections of people will be there who will be they'll be catering to these people. They're given preference. They need more protection. Women included, they need more protection. Of course, the focus here is on cows and the Brahmanas. Unfortunately, we are in the Kali Yuga period, and cows means many things to people. Cows means money making. Cows means they'll give milk, and when they stop giving milk, send them to the butcher shop. Finally, whatever you invest in the cow, you paid 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh, you will get many times more than that. That's the calculation. Expendables. You should use them to make money. What a horrible way to look at a cow. Looking at it in terms of making money, mercantile, merchandise, as goods out of which you make money. So very ruthlessly cruel treatment is meted out to cows. This is Kali Yuga. And so very horrible reactions come. There is no doubt that if you harm a cow which is very dear to Krishna, you can expect the worst things happening. So all the calamities which we suffer, including what we are in now, coronavirus and wars and terrorists and people going completely amok, is all because of mishandling, ill-treating, killing the cow. Huge reactions are there for society. Unfortunately, rulers are not understanding that. And people who are so-called leaders, they also don't understand that in all sections of society. So protection, what does protection mean? Protecting them from harm, protecting them from exploitation by others. See, arguments are given by people that you guys also are eating this and that, plants, and you're also killing trees, and you're, but the answer is given in the Bhagavatam also. What is that shloka? Ahastani sahastanam apadani chatuspadam falguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. That ahastani, those who don't have hands, sahastanam, are food for those who have hands. Apadani chatuspadam, those who don't have feet, they are food for those who have 4 feet. Chatuspadam. Falguni tatra mahatam. It's always that the weak are preyed upon by the strong. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One living entity becomes the source of food for the other living entity. That's how society is designed. right? So we are specifically, each one is supposed to eat particular types of things. Normally, a tiger will hunt and voraciously, passionately, blood and gore, it will eat raw meat. That's how it is designed. There's an ecological balance maintained by each one of these creatures doing naturally what they're supposed to do. But human beings are not supposed to live like that. Human beings are supposed to eat what's prescribed for them, just like animals are eating what is prescribed for them. You don't see a cow munching up a chicken. You don't see an elephant hunting and killing a deer and eating it up. You won't see all these things in society. You won't see a tiger chewing grass. You don't see all these things. Never will you see. Never will you see. So similarly, a human being should never be eating a cow, meat, and all these type of things. And then there'll be arguments for that, saying that Shastra, it says like this. Those are exceptional circumstances. What is offered in sacrifice, that is sometimes given for Kshatriyas to eat or Shudras to eat. That's all. Nobody goes out of the way and feeds off and grows chickens and in huge farms and kills by the billions. It seems some 6 billion or 16 billion chickens were killed 2019 in America alone as food. 16 billion chickens. And it worked out to 28 chickens per head of the population. So huge mass productions of, sheep and cows and chickens and name it, turkeys during Christmas, and mass production and mass killing. How will this reaction not affect human society? Right? So the type of logic that keeps away God from management, leadership, and then tries to do something on their own, that's always riddled with these type of difficulties. So protection of cows and brahmanas, why is it important? Because brahmanas are the head of society. And they are renounced, very well read, fully knowledgeable, know all the different types of information given in the Vedas, know how to do things, how not to do things. So they are great consultants and advisors to the Kshatriya. It's very important advice that they give. So they value that advice so much because of the brains that they have. And therefore the Kshatriyas look after the Brahmanas. And their needs are very less. Their needs are hardly anything. They're very renounced. So really speaking, it's very easy to maintain the Brahmanas. And they get their blessings. So that everything functions prosperously. That is intelligence. But if you, ill-treat the Brahmanas, if you, forget what religion is about, if you forget the Supreme Lord, whom the Brahmana is promoting, the instructions of whom the Brahmana is promoting, and if you, harass them, torture them, and do these type of things, then the Brahmanas and the cows, when they are not there, human society becomes totally like a ship without a rudder, does not know where it is going. And these people cannot lead without the help of the Brahmins. Values, religious values are very important. It should not be just done away with whimsically. That's why we need a very good understanding of what is this world, who constituted it, who are we, what are we doing here, what is the manual for functioning here. That's a Vedic literature, the manual. And in that manual, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned cows and Brahmins to be protected. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadithaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Go Brahmana, cows and Brahmanas, protector of the cows and the Brahmanas, right? So these are exalted Brahmanas, the four Kumaras. And that value is being affirmed. It's being highlighted. It's being stressed by Krishna in front of everybody for the whole world to see. I respect the Brahmanas highly. They are very valuable to me. They are very dear to me because they speak my instructions to others. They keep society going religiously with God in the center. So the best way to kill a society is to kill the Brahmanas, is to kill the cows. And this was started by the British. The British people studied Vedic culture very well, how it works. Robert Clive, it seems, employed Brahmins. He paid them huge sums of money. They became attracted. And he asked them to pick out from the scripture everything about the glories of cow, everything about how it functions. And so they explained everything. And they wrote documents and took out quotations and everything and translated it. They did a huge lot of work because they were paying money. So those Brahmins, the best of Brahmins, were called by him. And they did this research, and he came to know by distilled research and understanding and dialogues with all of them that, okay, Brahmanas are on the top, they are the brains of society, they give all the advice, and they're really very smart and intelligent. Then it's cows. Cows give milk. Milk sharpens everybody's intellect very well to understand Shastra. Not only that, cow's milk gives ghee. And the ghee is what is used in yajna, homa, everything by the Brahmins. So by performing this yajna and homa and propitiating all the demigods and the Supreme Lord Vishnu, everything rains on them. Prosperity, money, plenty of water, plenty of grains, plenty of good living, all these things happen. Wonderful civilization based on Yevam Pravartitam Chakram Nanu Vartaiha Aghayur Indriya Ramo Mogham Parthasa Jivati. Anyone who doesn't follow this cycle of sacrifice, Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Moham Parthasa Jivati, he is living in vain, he is living in great illusion, because this is the system I have set up for people to be prosperous. Demigods will supply everything that's required. So in this way, there is a system in place, and Brahmins play a very important role in that. We cannot deny certain things. You cannot say that, no, I don't like it that Brahmins are like that. You could also be a Brahmin if you want. You can culture yourself. There's no loss. Not that only Brahmins means you're born in a Brahmin family. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has explained that very nicely in his books. In the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, we create Brahmins. We do a whole samskara on them. They're taught, they're told about the supreme absolute truth, and they learn very deeply from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they are very deeply convinced about the absolute truth. And so they preach that, they propagate that, and they follow that. And their life is totally transformed. They are Brahmins. They are even more than Brahmins. They are Vaishnavas. So that protection is affirmed here by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana himself. Yes, because they are very important to me. Because through them, only this whole material world is sanctified. The cows and the Brahmanas are pivotal roles. The Brahmana is consulted for everything to do, from material life to spiritual life. And that is done very carefully. It's a beautiful civilization, Vedic civilization. It's a wonderful civilization because Krishna himself has instituted it. He says that, Varnashrama Acharyavata Purushena Parapuman Vishnuraradhyate. And the purpose is to worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form as Vishnu, in his form as Krishna, Shama Sundara, like that. So leading people to worship of the Supreme Absolute Truth is really education. And you will see that Prabhupada has tried to institute that through the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So these are very important statements. And it is mentioned here that cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god, because the son of the sun god also is Yamaraj, right? So cow and the Yamaraj are related, and cow and Yamuna are also related. She is also the daughter of the sun, I think. Just as children are taken care of the parents, women as a class should be taken care of by the father, husband. And this is something that people don't like to hear nowadays, that they are not equal, they are weaker and fairer sex, so they have to be under the protection of this. If you say that people, now is the time of independence, and people, independent women also want to be very independent without any dependence. They work, they earn their money, and they decide whether to get married or not. Many of them don't get married. And in Kali Yuga, I mean, all sorts of things, permutations and combinations. Sometimes we have to neglect these things and see just how that person can become Krishna conscious. Will he chant Hare Krishna? Will we read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita? Then we say that that should solve all the so-called difficulties and problems. So everybody is becoming smart, how I will actually lead my spiritual life and be successful, how I can navigate this thing. And sometimes male members decide, okay, I don't get married, which is encouraged highly. But women not getting married is very rarely recognized in Vedic culture. But however, in these times, sometimes we say, okay, we tolerate it, and the person is like fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, preaching, helping, counseling in the community, then we don't say anything much. We don't say anything much. Okay, you're engaged in Krishna conscious service, you're not doing anything crazy and wild and joining atheistic mentality and saying that women should be free, and that freedom is something else, very different from the type of freedom that we offer to devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement who are in the female bodies, right? Some constraints are there. So how to protect women, children, cows and brahmanas is a central role to be played by the government and by the leaders. This is one important point. If somehow we can take care of this point, say in India, the ruling government is doing a lot of work on protecting the cow and giving education to children and all that. So we are hoping that they will take hints from the Krishna consciousness movement, from the books of Prabhupada, and also inculcate some of these things and call upon us. We have been called upon in many places, and we are also taking part in some of those deliberations. Our vision is that we want to create an ideal society as per these prescriptions here. And Krishna very much desires that. Chaturu Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Krishna has explained that in Bhagavad Gita also. So in this way, in these two purports, we can understand how important it is to protect the cows and the brahmanas at least. Everybody in Vedic times in their house had a cow. Cow is in everybody's house. Because cow will be milked, cow will be worshipped every day, Gomata worship will be there, they'll go around and do pradakshina. Then they will use the cow dung for fuel, then they'll use the cow urine for medicine, and they'll use the milk for nutrifying themselves. And this way, a cow is like a huge kalpavriksha. It gives so many things for human society, right? So killing that cow means killing civilization. That's the, for some of them, it's very difficult to understand how these people are just talking about the cow and cow, you know. So our answer is that cow is not just any other ordinary animal. It's a very special animal put there specifically for helping human society to progress. So lots of wonderful stories also you can hear about the greatness of some of these brahmanas, their selfless nature and their desire to do service for Krishna, and how they are humbly placed. Especially the story of Sudama is very interesting and revealing. We have heard that before. Then there is the story of Ambarish Maharaj, great Kshatriya, who also ruled. And then there is the story of other types of people taking leadership positions. And in all these positions, they have always relied on Krishna's mercy. And those stories are maybe the most impactful, wonderful stories that we have ever heard. So our endeavor is actually to bring this narrative to the access of everybody and make people understand this. Om Tat Sat. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any question? Will there be any question? I have to leave a little early. I got something at 9 o'clock. So stopped about 10 minutes early. Hare Krishna.